to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so part two of what seeds I'm going to be growing this year. I've been to a few places over the last couple of days to get some more seeds, but I've been to a couple of garden centres and I've also been to the Allotment Society. And if you go to an Allotment Society near you, I really do suggest you join, because you'll save yourself a small fortune. So just to let you know what I bought. So the first one is Parsnip Albion F1. Now these are the ones that I grew last year. Went to a couple of shops to find these actually, but these are from Morgan, Thompson and Morgan, and they're the Parsnip Albion. Now these are the ones that grew really well last year. I think Arrow was the best one, but most certainly Parsnip Albion F1 hybrids. They grew really well in my soil last year. Obviously it depends on what soil you've got and obviously the weather conditions as well, but I found that they grew well, so I'm doing them again this year. Tomato, I've got some Moneymaker seeds. Now these are the ones that I normally grow. I did actually save some seeds, but because these were only 50p I thought I'll give them a go. These are some more from the Country Value range, but that's Moneymaker, so I'll be growing some of them again. These are the ones that I always grow, to be honest. Now some more parsnip. These are from Mr. Fathergill, White Gem, the variety, so I thought I'd give those a go. So at £1.65 I thought they'll be worth a go, but I always grow sort of 3 or 4 varieties of parsnip in every year, so that's another variety that I'll be growing. Right, now purple sprouting broccoli. This is one from another one from Mr. Fathergill Get Growing, and this is basically just a purple broccoli, so I'll be growing some of that. Now I always grow the Calabrese, the green, and also the purple. Reason being is the green you crop sort of in the back end of the year, sort of September, October time. If you're lucky enough, you'll crop early like I did last year. And this you crop in the spring, so this is cropped in sort of March, April time. So mine's just coming up, as you saw on the tour video last week. So that's why I grow the purple, because it gives you some nice greens for the spring. Another spinach. This is perpetual spinach. So I'm going to be growing some of that again this year. This is from Thompson Morgan. This is a really good variety, to be honest with you. It doesn't tend to grow particularly hard, if you know what I mean. It's a reasonably slow grower, I've found with this, but it is a really nice taste. And if you like spinach, the thing is with spinach is it bolts really easily, so if you have a dry period or anything like that, what you can get is it bolts and it runs to seed really quickly. With perpetual spinach, it doesn't tend to bolt anywhere near as much as normal spinach does, so that's why I always grow the perpetual. And I also grow the chard as well, which is like a spinach, but that's also doesn't bolt as much. Right, coming on to beans. I'm going to try some climbing beans. This is Blue Lake, and these again from the Country Value. There's not so many seeds in there, to be honest with you. I don't know how many seeds it actually says. There's probably only about 50 seeds in there, 40, 50 seeds. But I'm going to give them a go. I always grow the runner beans, as you know, and I'll save my own seed from them. But I do like the more sort of French bean type, and I'll be growing some of them this year. What I'm going to do is grow these up the top, and then the other beans, the runner beans, I'm going to be growing them down the bottom, because I don't want them to cross-pollinate, just in case they do. So those are the seeds that I bought from garden centres and stuff like that. I've been to the Allotment Society this morning, Allotment Society over in Tamworth, and comes highly recommended. Anyway, you can save yourself a fortune being in the Allotment Society. But these seeds are called King Seed. Not available in many places, but these are always available at my Allotment Society. I haven't grown these seeds for a couple of years now, but I have grown them in the past. First one is the beetroot. This is Bolt Hardy, really good variety. So I'll be growing those this year. I've not grown this variety for a couple of years now, but I'll most certainly be walking through the beans, Dorothy. I'll be growing this year. Now, this is a really nice variety. They're not particularly big, but they're really, really dark, and they're quite flavoursome as well. So most certainly a good variety to grow. So that was to give you an idea. Those were 80p. Those seeds were, and you know they weren't on special offer. That's just how much they are. Tomatoes, as I say, you know, these are the Alicante. These are the ones that I grew for the first time last year. These are again from King Seeds, 75p for a packet. It doesn't say there's 75 seeds in there, so you can't go wrong really. They're a penny a seed. Some more spinach. This is beet leaf perpetual spinach. Now this is the stuff I always grow. This is the stuff I've got growing down the bottom. Now the good thing with this is, again, it's a good vegetable if you've not grown this before, because what you can do with this is you grow it in the year. As soon as it's big enough, come sort of June, July time, probably more July to be honest with you, you can start to pull it. The more you pull it, the more it'll grow. So you know, you can crop it all the way through the year. It dies off towards the end of the year, sort of October, November, depending on how cool the weather is. But it'll die off in sort of the back end of sort of October time, and then come the spring it will start to grow again, and then you get probably about 3 months of cropping off this, up until, you know, it'll start to grow in sort of March time, and then you get March, April, May, and then it starts to bolt at the back end of May. So you get, like, you know, you can crop it all the way up to the sort of the autumn, then it dies off, and then come the spring it'll then grow back, and then you've got 2 or 3 months worth of cropping it after that, and in the spring it always grows back stronger. So you know, it's a good crop that you can grow this year, but next year, you know, you'll get some spring harvest off it as well. So that's beet leaf perpetual spinach. That's very similar to the other one, this one, which is just perpetual spinach, but this one, if you can get that one, it is really good, and it does grow a lot faster and quicker than this one. So if I'm going to grow both, I just put them both in the same, basically the same row, or I put one row next to the other. But that's the one to go for, because this one does. I like to grow the variety. I like to grow both. But this one's probably better flavour, to be honest with you. But that one is a much faster growing plant, and you'll get a much better harvest off that. And it is nice vegetable. It does taste nice, but from a taste perspective, that one's possibly a bit better. Right, and the last one is some more parsnips. Not a picture of this, I'm afraid, but that's also from King Seeds, and this is called Parsnip Gladiator F1, another F1 variety. I don't know how many seeds in there, probably not so many. There's not a lot on the back, as you can see. On the front it just says sow directly. Yeah, it doesn't actually say how many seeds are in there. I would imagine there's probably about 200 seeds in there, so not too bad. Again, £1.35 for them, can't go wrong. So those are some more varieties. But the one thing I really did want to say is, if you compare, if you compare the prices I paid for these seeds, this spinach was £2.29. These were £1.65. Those were, I think those were 89p. Those were £2.99. You know, to give you an idea of what the prices are in the shops. If you go to an allotment society, you're paying 80p, 75p, £1.35 for, you know, these seeds. So weighing it up, you know, it will probably cost you about £4 or £5 to join the allotment society, and you pay that every year as like a subscription. Even if you buy 4 packets of seeds, you will most certainly still be in you know, have saved money after having bought the seeds. Now I buy all sorts of things from my allotment society. All of my compost comes from there. I'll show you what I've bought later on. Seeds, onion sets, potato sets, all of the all of that kind of thing you can get, and fertilisers as well. They're really good for weed killers and all that kind of thing. So where you'll be paying, however much in the garden centres, you will literally pay a fraction in your allotment society. So if there is one nearby you, even if it's within sort of 5, 6, 7 miles of your house, it's worth driving out to join. And you get some really good sound advice from these people as well. So big bit of advice: if you've got an allotment society anywhere near you, do join it, do go down there, save yourself a fortune, and you can have a chat to people, and they will be able to advise what's the best variety. And because they'll be from your area, they'll be able to best advise what suits the ground best, because obviously different varieties grow either well or not so well, depending on what part of the country you're in. So allotment societies, get yourself joined up and reap the benefits of doing that. So that's some more seeds. In part 3 of the seeds, there is more to come. I'll be explaining some of the more unusual varieties in the next couple of weeks or so. But that's part 2 of the seeds. Okay, I just want to do a few of the comments that have come over in the last couple of weeks. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's put comments on, and I realise that the episodes I've been pouring out over the past couple of months with regard to building the tunnel and that haven't attracted anywhere near as many comments. So I realised you were all hungry for some proper gardening type videos. But from now on in, that's what it's all going to be about. So the first comment comes from Pete Liversidge, I think you pronounce your name. And he was saying he grows his beetroots in modules in March, and then he plants them out in polytunnels in April to get a head start. And he also grows Bolt Hardy, which is the variety that I typically grow, and he's also grown a multicoloured one for the first time. Now the comment I just wanted to say was I've found with the multicoloured ones, they actually tend to grow stronger than the more sort of traditional, like Bolt Hardy type red. Most certainly the white ones grow really well. The pale sort of yellowy ones and the white ones, they grow really well as well. The flavour doesn't tend to be quite as good, but the thing that I just wanted to note was you need to be careful with the coloured ones, because they grow quite quickly, but at a point they get that big, they get quite woody and stuff like that, so you need to pull them when they're reasonably young. Anything sort of bigger than a sort of small tennis ball, really, it's gone a bit too far. They also tend to get sort of elongated as well. So if you are growing the multicoloured ones, as soon as they're big enough, sort of pull them out. What I tend to do is sow the line, and then as soon as they get big enough, I sort of pull them out to basically thin them out by pulling. But what I'm going to be doing this year, as Pete's put a comment on there, is I'm going to be growing mine in modules as well. I'm going to sow some in the ground directly, but I'm going to be growing some in modules as well. Now I did that for the Swede last year and had a lot more success than I have had in the past. So I think it just starts them off well, and it gives them that boost starting, because you've got that little clump of compost around the root. It just starts them off really well, and then as soon as they weigh, they grow really well. So I'll be doing that with the beetroots as well. So thank you for your comment, Pete. Next one comes from Richard Cinnamon, and he was saying about the Scottish kale. He sent me some seeds over in the post, thank you again. And he was saying that the Scottish kale is actually flat-leaved. I said I wasn't sure last time, but he said it is flat-leaved, and he says after the frost they do get the taste gets a lot sweeter and nicer. So he recommends that with kale, always wait till you've had a frost before you start sort of harvesting it in large amounts. Richard also put a comment on, and I understand where you're coming from. He was saying, because I made a comment last week, I think, saying that with the strawberries, I was thinking of putting some wood chip on to deter the slugs. And Richard was saying, be careful of that. He's tried that in the past, and it's got a bit damp, and it's actually done the opposite. It's attracted the slugs in there. So thank you for your suggestion. I appreciate that. Next one comes from Belinda Carpenter, and she was saying about she'll be trying beetroots in pots this year. I've never grown them in pots. I have known people growing them in pots, and I think they do quite well. I think anything in pots really, as long as you keep them cool. You know, things like beetroots and stuff like that. You need to, you know, you don't want them to get too hot. But yeah, you know, you should have some reasonable sort of success with those. So, I always find they grow best out in the open ground, but starting them off in pots is a bit better. But obviously, if you prefer to grow in pots, that's all good. Next one comes from Brian Hubry, and he was saying again, common theme here, that he grows things in pots, but he was saying as well as beetroots, he always finds that it's best to grow spring onions in modules first, then plant them out. So I'll probably give that a go as well, to be honest with you. So I'll be growing some spring onions in the modules. Next one comes from Grumpy Poe, and he put a comment on saying that I look like Ray Laidlaw. Apparently he's a drummer in a band called Lindy Farn. I don't know the band, but I did have a look on the internet at some pictures, and I can sort of kind of see where you're coming from. But yes, thank you, Grumpy Poe. The next one comes from Muddy Boots over in Wolverhampton. All right, Nige. And he was saying, put a comment on about the parsnips, and yes, you are right. This time of year, really, as soon as the shoots start coming out of the ground with your parsnips, really, it's the last doors really to get them out of the ground. If you leave them too much longer than sort of mid-March, they will get this woody core going down the middle, and they're not so nice. So most certainly now is the best time to get the remainder of your parsnips out of the ground and eat them. If you're not going to eat them straight away, what you can do is just dig them up. Obviously peel them, chop them up, put them in the freezer. There's nothing wrong with you doing that. You know to store them. But if you do leave them in the ground for much longer, they will start to go woody and stuff. So most certainly, as soon as the shoots get to sort of 2 or 3 inches, you know they've probably gone too far. So if your parsnips are starting to sort of grow, if you're not going to eat them immediately, what I would suggest you do. I mean, I'll probably eat what's left of mine in the next couple of weeks, but if you're not going to do that, I suggest you harvest them, dig them out of the ground, clean them up, peel them, chop them up and pop them in your freezer, and you can just take them out of there and sort of cook them later. So thanks for your comment, Nige. Next one comes from Tokolosh 1961, so I don't know what your real name is, but he was, I'm assuming it's a he, says about agretti. Now, agretti's an Italian vegetable. It's well known for being down in the sort of Mediterranean basin, so it's quite popular sort of in southern Europe and stuff. It looks very much like a little bit like lemongrass. It's that kind of. From a distance, it kind of looks a bit like chives as well. It's quite a nice vegetable. It can be eaten raw. It can be eaten cooked. There's a lot of Italian recipes where they chop it up and use it in sort of with pasta and stuff like that. But I was asked, can you grow it in the UK? Now, there's no reason why you can't grow it. It is a reasonably easy crop to grow. What you need to do is be planting it around now, if you haven't already. What I would recommend is you plant it sort of at the end of the year, sort of November, December time, right the way through. You most certainly need to have it in the ground by March, there's no doubt about that. Excuse me. That'll grow through the year, and then you can sort of crop it later in the sort of late summer, if you like. Now there are hardier varieties. I'm not quite sure where you are. If you're in the north, there are hardier varieties called Cell Solar Soda, and this is part of the beet type family. So it's kind of a spinachy, beetrooty type plant. It is the same, but it's kind of that more. It's more like a spinach beetroot, but it is the same type of plant, and they will grow slightly better in the UK environment if you're a little bit further north. If it's a bit cold. But to be honest with you, you shouldn't have any problem growing any of it in UK growing conditions. Because it is a reasonably hardy plant, so it should survive our winters and weather and stuff. They do like loose, rich soil, so most certainly fertilise your soil, get lots of muck in there and dig it and get the soil nice and loose so they can get the roots down. Plant them out, as I say, you sow them late winter, early spring, and they'll grow quite merrily, and you crop it late summer. But most certainly, if you're going to grow it in the UK, dig loads of organic material in the ground. They like the moisture, they like the goodness in the soil, and they like a loose soil as well. So dig the ground over really well, plant them in there, and then off they'll go, and then crop them late summer. So, but you most certainly need to be getting them in the ground like now. Is the sort of latest really. Next comment comes from Plotting Alone, and she said about pickling beetroot in chili. Yes, I love pickled beetroot in chili, and there's a friend of mine who actually makes it, and I get some jars off them every year, and beetroot makes a really nice pickle with chili. Now I have got the recipe to do it. I've never done it. I was going to have a go last year, I just never found the time. But what I'll do is I've got a really good recipe that's been passed down through generations. What I'll do is I'll in a couple of weeks' time I'll find it out. I've got it written down on a piece of paper in one of my recipe books. So what I'll do is I'll let you know how she does it, because this recipe that she's got is really nice. There's a whole raft of things she puts in there. You know, there's not only beetroot and chili, there's also other spices and herbs and that she puts in there, and it's a really nice chutney. It's good with ham, it's good with pretty much anything, to be honest with you. I love it with when I have bangers and mash, or sausage and mashed potato. It's a really nice pickle to have with that as well. So but I'll put the recipe up in the next couple of weeks. I'll find it out, and I'll do a quick one in a couple of weeks, so keep your eye open for that. Next one comes from Credenza 1, about the welding, and I was obviously all of the welding I've been doing on the tunnel, and welding is easy. You know, it is as I say, you know, if anybody wants to have a go, I will put a quick video together just to explain how to do it. It is easy. But Brian Hubry also put a comment on there about archive. Archives, when you've not got the right protection on, basically, and if you look at the arc that the welder makes, it can damage your eye. And what it's like is you know about it pretty much straight away, and it feels like you've got sand or grit in your eye. I've had it once. It's the kind of thing you'll only ever have once, because as soon as you've done it, you don't want to go there again. It is quite painful and uncomfortable. But basically, it doesn't cause permanent damage to your eye, all being well. But it most certainly hasn't done any damage to me. But you feel like you got sand or grit in your eye that you can't get out. And basically, what you should do is always wear a mask on your face. Also, the arc that comes off the welder is almost like sunlight, so you get like a sunburn if you're not careful. So what you should be doing, the best advice I can give you, is always make sure your arms are covered, and your hands and your face are covered in some way or another. If you're doing most certainly any amount of welding, you most certainly need to do that. When you've seen me on the videos, I'm just basically tacking stuff together. You don't typically see me with all the clobber on, because I can't hold the video and stuff to do it. So, you know, just doing a couple of tacks or something like that isn't going to cause any damage. But if you're going to be doing any amount of welding, I would most certainly recommend you wear long sleeve shirt to cover your arms. And I typically don't wear gloves, because I don't like handling things with gloves on, to be honest with you. But most certainly your face and your eyes you need to protect with a mask. So as I've said before, you know, always get a mask. I've got a reactor mask, which basically means that you can see through it normally, so it's just like having a pair of glasses on. And then as soon as the arc starts, it'll instantly go dark, and so you know it won't damage your eye. But yeah, Brian, you have got a good point there. Health and safety first. Always be careful of your eyes. You've only ever got, you know, two eyes. You know, you don't want to damage them. So, but yeah, that's mindful. But I did say when I was talking about welding, get yourself a welder and get yourself a mask. You know, you should, most certainly have a good mask. But yeah, good point, Brian. And the next thing I want to do is just say a big thank you to all of the new subscribers that I've had over the last few weeks. Few months, and there's been some really nice comments. I don't always get time to talk about all of the comments. I just typically do the questions and stuff like that, and I kind of cherry pick out the ones that are useful to other people. But I just want to say a really big thank you to all the people who put encouraging comments on the channel. I do appreciate your time in you putting the comments on there. And it is encouraging for me, obviously, to make the videos and that. But I just want to pick out a few. This isn't a comprehensive list of everybody, but over the past few weeks, I know Foodie Laura, Jim Ackloyd, Slasher, Linda Penny, Mark Watson, Katrina Harrison, Plotting Alone, I've already mentioned, Jan's Allotment Garden, and of course Tina and Jason from Allotment Upcycling. Thank you all for all of your comments. I do appreciate, obviously I've not mentioned everybody there, but I just want to say a big thank you for the comments you put on the channel over the past few months. Okay, so I just want to explain what compost we're going to be using this year. Now this is a compost I've used before. It's called Clover, and this is a multi-purpose compost. It's great for seeds. It's a good fine compost. It has got peat contained within it, but it's. I just want to point out that it's harvested from areas of no scientific interest, basically. So you know, it is sort of morally correct to use it. It is really good stuff. Comes highly recommended by me. I've had a lot of success with this, and I've compared this with other composts in the past, and this one has most certainly come out on top. Now it is reasonably cheap to buy. I've got this from my allotment society, and this 75 litre bag was actually £4, and if you compare that to other composts, that's pretty cheap. So again, I'm advertising the fact that you know, if you're going allotment and you're going to be buying a reasonable amount of this. Now I get through probably about 5 or 6 bags of this a year, and obviously, you know, if you the difference between paying £4 and £5 a bag, obviously over the space of a year you're going to save yourself sort of £5 or £6 if you like. Also, another purchase I made yesterday from Tamworth Allotment Society was this Grow More, which is obviously a general fertiliser. It's the NPK 777. I don't know if you can see that. So it's a good all-round balanced feed for plants, really. And this is a sort of, I don't know, 8 or 9 kilo bag in there. So and that was £4.65. So you know, if you bought that in the shop, you'd be paying twice, if not 3 times that amount of money. And you know, so again, if you have got an allotment society nearby and you've got an allotment and you're going to be using a reasonable amount of stuff like this, it's well worth you joining. You know, typically they're only sort of £4 or £5 a year to join, and you know, you'll most certainly. I mean, I saved probably twice that much money yesterday on my first visit. So you know, you can save yourself a lot of money. But I just wanted to say that this Clover compost comes highly recommended by me. I've used it for a number of years, and it is really good quality. And compared to other composts that most certainly get on the market today, it is most certainly one of the best in my estimation. Okay, so I did promise to go through the financials of the allotment, and now we're sort of at the stage where I can actually do that. So I've just sort of updated what I did last time, and just to give you an idea of the sort of the financial side of the allotment. So last year, the outgoings, if you like, on the allotment came to a total of £188, and in there that was the onion sets, fertiliser, compost, the allotment fees, which are £50, £40 worth of compost. I bought some hose parts, which are 24 quid. Plant seeds came to about £20. Debris net for the tunnel, which I'm building, was £16. The fruit trees that I put in last year were £9, and there's another load of seed that I got for £2. So that's basically what I spent last year on the allotments, and that came to £188 in total. What did I crop? So very quickly going down, asparagus. I got £16 worth of asparagus last year. Now, just to let you know where the prices come from, I'm comparing buying these foods in basically the average supermarket in the UK. Now, I do compare Tesco's, Asda, and Morrison's, and what was it on Sainsbury's, just to get an idea of the ones. But typically they're all pretty much the same, so I more often than not go on the prices from Tesco. But just to let you know, asparagus is about £20 a kilo, so that's where I get the £16 from, if you like. The broccoli was £39 worth. Cucumbers I had £49 worth. Rhubarb was £200 worth. Raspberries was £120. Strawberries was £180. I cropped last year. Runner beans, bumper crop on the runner beans, £275 if I'd have bought them in Tesco's. Potatoes I had 200 and £293 worth of potatoes out the allotment last year. Tomatoes, believe it or not, I had £105.60 of tomatoes out of the greenhouse last year. I got 50 something kilos of tomatoes last year, so I did really well. Courgettes, £15.20. Pumpkins were £26 worth. I basically got 13 pumpkins, and they're, for the size of them, they were £2 each in Tesco's. The Swede, £11 worth. Beetroot was £15.60 worth. Sweet corn was £7 worth. Kale was £37.50 worth. That's £1.45 a kilo, believe it or not, for kale. So kale's quite a good crop to grow. And the onions were £191.40. So the grand total of what I cropped from the greenhouse, from the allotment in the greenhouse, was £1,423.35. Sorry. The total that I cropped was £1,611.35p. So when you subtract what I spent on the allotment off that, basically the allotment was in profit, if you like, by £1,423.35. So looking at the financial side of it, an allotment is, you know, apart from the fact that you're growing healthy plants and you know, healthy food, and you know, and it's good for you, it's good exercise, and it's a good sociable thing to do. Obviously, because you have chat with people and stuff on the allotment, and you know, it's a way of life where, you know, you need to be committed to it. But as you can see, you know, you can save yourself a reasonable amount of money on that. I've not included in there. I've not included things like the herbs, the ginger, the you know, all the other bits and bobs that I've grown up here, and of course all the flowers and that stuff. I've not gone out and bought them. I've just grown them from seed. So I've not included all of that. So I could go a little bit further with this, to be honest with you. But you know, it just proves the point where if you do grow things and you're I have been called a bit of a miser in the past, to be honest with you, but you know, I don't try and spend too much money on the allotment. That's the challenge for me, to grow, you know, things and build things out of nothing. You know, that's where I get the enjoyment, really, because you can go out and spend a fortune on, you know, doing one thing or another. But the challenge for me is doing it as cheaply as possible and getting the best quality and best quantity of crop out of the allotment. That's where the challenge is for me. So that just gives you an idea of where we were last year. This year I'm going to be growing pretty much the same thing. There are a few new crops in there. I'm going to be growing pretty much all the same crops. I'm not going to be growing as many pumpkins this year because I didn't basically use them all. And I'm not going to be growing as many courgettes this year because I didn't use them all. So I'm going to be growing a few less of those. And in that room where they would be, I'm going to be growing the oca and the okra and other sort of vegetables as well. So yeah, this year I'm going to be focusing on a bit more. The things I didn't do particularly well on last year were things like the spinach and stuff like that. The brassicas did really well, but the spinach and that didn't do particularly well. So my focus this year is going to be on getting the spinach and that, because that's one of my favourite vegetables, to be honest with you. And I didn't do particularly well, so I want to try and get that right this year. But everything else will be pretty much the same as it was last year. But with Mother Nature and the weather that we get in the UK, who knows what's going to happen. That's the challenge of growing stuff yourself. So I hope this episode of Jim's Allotment was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions that you may have below. I'll always get back to you with any answers. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Allotment Garden.